Welcome back once more. This is Inside Politics on KTN News. Now let's focus on the August House, and we understand reports indicate that members of the National Assembly as well as the Senate pocketed close to $1 million Kenya shillings from what is being termed as house allowances. This is despite some opposition from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission as well as Treasury. Those allowances, we understand, add up to almost $1 million Kenya shillings, a 250,000 monthly allowance for each of the 416 members of the two houses. And we understand it was backdated to August 2018. Reports indicating that the MPs received a monthly payment of around 2.25 million shillings in April. Reports we cannot independently verify, but is this coming at a time the government has been trying to institute austerity measures for it to have money for its Big Four agenda? I want to get your reactions to this very quickly. Dismas, let me begin with you.
Well, for me, I think the move was long overdue, because when you're a public servant of rank, you must be given accommodation by the state.
They have a mortgage of 20 million shillings.
Those are two different items, because when you look at the members of the judiciary, you look at the executive, and you look at the legislature. If you are a judge, Court of Appeal judge, and your station is in Nairobi, so you take a mortgage and you buy a house, say, in Lavington. If you're posted to Kisumu for 3 years, you are not going to take another mortgage and buy another property in Kisumu. You need to be given resources to pay rent. I know this looks as a bit absurd, going against the grain, but it's important that we treat MPs with that kind of respect.
Members of parliament are permanently based in Nairobi.
No, but if, like for instance, I'm a Kisii man. If I become the next MP, my home is in Kisii. I'll only be coming to Nairobi to do parliamentary business. Okay. So if I get a mortgage,
you don't need a mortgage,
I may want to. No, I'll take a mortgage, which is a loan, and I'll put up a beautiful house in Kisii with a ranch. But when I come to Nairobi, you need to take care of my accommodation. Now, if we don't want MPs to be given the 250 as house allowance or as a rent, then we say that we are not going to give ministers, principal secretaries, judges, and everybody. So we say that if you've been given a job, take care of your accommodation. You're not getting any as allowance, or you're not getting any rent, because you cannot treat legislatures in a manner different from the other arms.
So even the just a point of information, they're called what? The cabinet assistant secretaries also have these house allowances. Mark, do you agree with this?
I totally disagree, because let's put a few numbers to this thing. We're talking about fellows who take home a salary of 700,000 shillings a month. We want to imagine that they want to then stay, because 700,000 shillings is not enough. They need to rent an ambassadorial home for 250,000. I fail to imagine why an MP who's coming to Nairobi on a short trip, as Dismas has put it, would require 250,000 shillings worth of a house. But let us situate that again against the backdrop that 95% of the working class in Kenya earn less than 100,000 shillings. And out of that, 85% and less than 50,000 shillings. So you want someone who feeds his wife, his children, and pays fees for his younger brother on 50,000 shillings a month. You want to tell him that a member of parliament, who, by the way, is supposed to be representing him, walking a mile in his shoes and feeling that pinch, is feeling that pinch at 250,000 shilling doses. The truth is before God, okay? It does not take a genius to realize that what we have gifted ourselves as Kenyans is a bunch of pigs who would rather eat us and eat everything that we own than represent us one day. If this parliament had spent time and reviewed taxes and reviewed the mortgage rate and reviewed how the expensive life is for Kenyans, if they had come up with very interesting ways to bring in foreign investment, if they had forced this government to pay the billions upon billions of shillings they owe to entrepreneurs, then maybe I would consider 50,000 shillings. But this lazy, sleeping, insulting each other, measuring waist, dancing, fighting with Kotu people, tangatangaing everywhere, kieleweke everywhere. These ones are the ones you want to give 250,000 shillings for what now?
Good question. Outrage.
And in fact, that 250,000 shillings and everything else we're paying We are paying for it. The Kenyan who eats 1 meal a day, yes. This is coming back to us. So you're asking me, in addition to the fact that I'm eating once a day, and I'm educating, as my brother said, other people, and I have so many responsibilities, I take care of the MPs, I say 2 words: servant leadership. We lack servant leadership in this country. It's obscene the amount of money that the members of parliament want. And when you think back to Thomas Sankara, as soon as the revolutionary leader, as soon as he took power, he cut back on all these excesses. And in any case, these MPs who are often beneficiaries of brown envelopes, why can't they use those brown envelopes to pad and update and upgrade their own existence? At the end of the day, we are looking at a situation where the MPs are capitalizing off of the poverty of Kenyans, and they do not care, because in any case, maybe at some point they were just another ordinary Kenyan, and as soon as they hit that position, they said, it's my turn to eat. So there's nothing around servant leadership when it comes to the legislature. It is about how much can I make, how a 20 million mortgage, I mean, some people dream of a 1 million mortgage. So we are just laughing at the fact that they have all these access, and at the end of the day, we are the ones who are paying for it. I have to keep bringing it back. We are the ones who pay for this. And I have another final parting shot. Let's talk about the recall clause. If they want to be paid this much, we should be able to recall them. How many parliamentarians are doing absolutely nothing for their constituents today? Right. We pay them, they do nothing. Let us implement the recall clause and make sure that on a regular basis, we say so-and-so has not delivered, get this person out, and let us elect somebody who, even if they're earning that amount of money, is actually doing something to benefit his or her constituents.
And outside Muthaiga and Runda, in Kisumu, in Eldoret, in Mombasa, which houses are these that are 250,000 a month? Which
Very
one?
good question.
No, it's for the girlfriend, it's for the wife, it's for a whole household. Their version of extended household.
You can pay five rents with that 250,000.
But you see, let's not forget the fact that the MPs, the National Assembly is located in Nairobi, is not located in Kisii. Now, if you're unhappy that
so
the
you
MPs...
think this must 250,000 shillings makes sense for you for rent?
No, the amount can be in dispute, but the principle that they need housing allowance should not be in dispute.
Okay, Kipchumba, this thing has been opposed by Treasury and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. In fact, the chairperson, Lynn Mengich, says that the commission is not aware. Could this be illegal?
It is illegal from here to Timbuktu and from here to where the first person who wrote a constitution in America was buried. Let us call some things the way they are. Ben, you cannot steal our CDF, steal all that appertains to us, and also want us to house you. You have to choose a struggle. But coming back to the main issue, we have been told about there is what we call in the Big Four agenda, there is the housing part. Why don't these parliamentarians tell us, Kenyans, we want to be housed, and we'll give them the first priority in the houses that are being built at Park Road. Yes. We house them there because we are already contributing as salaried people to that one. The other thing is this, Ben. We cannot compare judges and members of parliament. Judges submit to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and that is why the housing allowance is within the range of, I think, 80 to around 100. Because they have already submitted to a certain rule. But when you come here and make your own salary, you prescribe your own housing allowance. An MP, let's take for example the one who is a bachelor, the one from Meru or somewhere there. What business does he have to live in a house worth 250,000? Does the people of Meru or wherever he represent derive value from that 250,000? Two, we are giving these members of parliament mortgage not in the market rate. We are giving them what they are paying is just the operational fee of 3%, and at times they go home without finishing the amount. And what they do in between, we give them allowances. They tend to overburden what the SRC has given as sitting allowances, because you have been given a number of sittings in a month, let's say 4. By the time they sit for 8, and we pay them, which means they are in contravention of the law from that side. And when we are talking about fighting corruption, we will not fight corruption about the people who steal billions if we allow people to continuously malign institutional effectivity. The other thing which I must tell Kenyans is this: I am not so much sorry about MPs taking 250 home as house allowance, because we have said in this show time above number that corruption and leadership responsibility are fought at the ballot, but Kenyans always go for the person who gives the highest handouts. Let them suffer the bill.
Mark, do you agree with what Dismas is saying, that 250,000 shillings could be obscene, but the principle is right?
Listen, when the day you applied for a job at KTN, They told you the package is this much and this is the package. And then you applied and you signed a contract and you said, I agree. Our MPs went further and swore fealty to the terms and conditions we gave them when we voted for them. The idea that they can decide to change their terms of reference during tenure and then ignore the law, ignore other commissions that are in charge of these things is unfair. And the principle that you as a leader can decide that how much food is on your plate is more important than the food that is in the people in Baringo who are dying of hunger the other day, or in the plate of the people who are in Marsabit dying of hunger, is not fair.
Right.
The truth of the matter is, if you consider what 250,000 shillings can do in a village in this country, you will be shocked. If you can sink a borehole and give water to people all year round at the cost of 1.5 million shillings, then how obscene is it for you as a member of parliament in this country, a third world Trump country, I will not say that other term, country, that you've created it to be that way, and then all you think about is yourself. So that needs to stop.
The main question here is, why would we give a judge house allowance? Why would we give a PS, a CS, public servants of house allowance, and we don't want to extend the same to members of the National Assembly?
But which
now,
MP,
if the figure,
which MP has been homeless? It's not that Karua homeless.
You've asked a question.
Let me clarify that. If we are arguing about the amount of 250,000 being obscene, then maybe we negotiate it, we get inflation and interest rates. But if you are this MP from Meru and you're a bachelor, and you get your house allowance 250, why should that bother Kipchumba how you want to use the 250?
There should be a level of moderation in terms of how remuneration packages are organized. I agree. But on the other hand, I will not leave the studio today saying, why are they paying Ben what they pay Ben? They should stop paying Ben what they pay. I think that the point here is that we don't have the leadership in place, and we can therefore fixate on the fact that they are not doing their jobs and instead greedily sitting around waiting for us to pay them more. So it's this empty suitcase, or this full suitcase that's full to overflowing, and we keep stuffing it. So we would not have issues with emoluments, with benefits, with packages, if they were actually doing what they swore to do. And we would expect them, if they swore to do what if they did what they swore to do, we would expect them to moderate themselves and not sit around greedily adding onto their packages, package upon package, and being corrupted sitting allowances and so on and so forth. We are fed up. We have had absolutely enough. And the day that 1 meal a day becomes 0 meals per day, then the Kenyans will rise up and we will say enough is enough. Until then, we will complain, we will make comments, we will tweet, we'll be on social media, and we'll continue to pay these guys, and nothing will be done. And the 2.7 trillion budget that has been read for us also includes those additional emoluments for the parliamentarians, and this is not right.
Ben,
very quickly,
there is wisdom behind the establishment of SRC, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. It cannot be a signature or just a wallpaper in our constitution, whereby the people who are interested will go through it, but those ones who feel they have the muscle will not go through it. The other thing is this: it is very unfair for us to discuss judges and other state officers with members of parliament in the same sentence, because these state officers do not earn sitting allowance. A judge sits in chambers a whole day. Nobody pays them a sitting allowance. But we pay members of parliament to tweet and to just share videos and to just take 10,000 in toilets. We pay them sitting allowance. We need to be honest to this country, and we cannot have honest discussions if we still continue to cloud our thinking with ambition. I might have an ambition to be a member of parliament, but that does not deny my thinking to know that people setting their own salaries is wrong. But I can tell you, we are seated here, they will not earn the money. The courts will overturn.
All right. It's a conversation that we can't exhaust right now, but you can keep that ongoing on social media. The hashtag is Inside Politics. Let's switch on to some final thing before we close up. A national carrier, Kenya Airways, reported a 7.5 billion shillings net loss in its trading results for the period ending December 2018. The airline, which has been actively trying to contain its costs, is betting big on turning around its fortunes if the proposal to merge with Kenya Airports Authority bears fruit.
Kenya Airways says the plan was to form a subsidiary to manage operations at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport for a concession period of 30 years.
We submitted our document to KA as required. KA board took the document, evaluated it with their legal advisors, with their financial advisors, and took those comments and sent it to the PPP unit. Now, that's where it is at the moment.
KQ could evaluate other options should the public-private partnership deal with Kenya Airports Authority not go through.
Government increase its shareholding so that we become more bigger, they have a bigger shareholding in KQ. It's a possibility, but it's just one of the options at the moment. And I only want, and the board only wants, and I'm sure the management only wants what is in the best long-term interest of Kenya Airways. We do not want to stay as we are.
If we want to grow the Nairobi hub, we need two types of investments. There is the investment in our planes and our network, but it's not a secret if you look at the terminals that there is a massive investment needed into the airport.
Kenya Airways posted a 7.5 billion shilling loss after tax for the period ended December 2018. This compared to 6.4 billion shillings between April and December 2017. The increase is attributed to a surge in operating costs in the period under review.
Of course, from an audit perspective, we audited 12 months, and previous year we audited 9 months because of the shift. But this is the only year we're going to do it. Starting from report about 2019, we will compare 12 months to 12 months.
KQ posted total revenue of 114.18 billion shillings thanks to increased passenger and cargo numbers. On an outlook basis, the airline is looking at increasing partnerships and new routes like Libreville, Rome and Geneva. Brenda Kirubu, KTN News.
Right, very quickly, we have about 10 minutes to just comment on this. Mark, let me begin with you. You have a bone to pick with KQ, but it's a serious issue, isn't it?
Yes, it's a serious issue. I call myself a prisoner of KQ. Every time I've flown with KQ the last 3 months, they've kept me at their airport without consent for more than 18 hours at a time. And the last time the previous time before I was there, I happened to chance at the CEO, and he told me he does not feel the need to explain what he was doing because the readers of my article do not fly, and people who watch this show do not fly. So clearly, there is no need. And if you look at how they treat us when we go to that airport and how rudely they are about, they treat us around extending flight times, cancelling flights, and how casually they take these issues, it's a serious issue. But secondly, how convenient that they have deals with these airports, with these hotels all around the airports, where after they delay you for 18 hours, they're very easy. It's very easy to transport you to a certain hotel of choice that is 5-star. So I always wonder how much money they're willing to pay these hotels but unwilling to fly you. So the question must be asked, is KQ going through what Mumias did, where they're intentionally running themselves to the ground, to the chagrin of Kenyans, and then expect these same Kenyans who don't fly because we are poor to bail him out and pay his salary? That is the issue. These guys at KQ, the truth is, they're running this company down, they're stealing from us hand over fist, and their insurance policy is that we will bail them out. That is the truth.
Dismas, are we, or is KQ, based on what you've been able to see, they say they have cut their losses, the net loss, down to 7.5 billion shillings only. Do you think the national carrier is on the right track to back to profitability?
You know, when you look at Kenya Airways, you have to compare it with Ethiopian Airlines. Kenya Airways, we are told, has got 40 planes or equipment, while Ethiopia has got 110. Kenya Airways goes to 53 destinations, while Ethiopia goes to 119. And Ethiopian airline is very profitable. When you go to KQ, when you look at the numbers, even if you do not understand accounting like Vichache does, and you have got the superior knowledge like I do because I'm an accountant, you realize that when they were buying these planes, there was a middleman somewhere, and they inflated the cost to up to 50%. So that's the reason why they'll keep on making losses. Understand from an inside source, whether or not KQ flies those planes, every single day, they will incur a loss of 200 million. Because the purchase decision were not influenced by passenger nor cargo. It was a political decision. It was a non-commercial decision. So, I mean, when you look at the top line, it's very okay. They're flying passengers all over the world. They're flying cargo all over the world. But when they come to the expenses become obscene. And then you remember at some stage, when Titus Naikuni was the MD, they did some accounting thing called hedging, that you want to buy fuel in future because you are an oracle, you can determine the price. But again, why were they doing that? reliable sources indicate that there was mischief. So, in my view, what we must do for Kenya Airways is to swallow the bitter pill. And Mark Bichacha has indicated that the people who run Kenya Airways, they treat Kenyans with very condescending attitude. You go to the airport, maybe you are not rich, but you've sold your cows and goats, you want to fly to some place, and then you meet a management which treats you with contempt, as if you've got leprosy. So what we must do, it's a big appeal for many Kenyans. We must nationalize Kenya Airways. Because either way, we'll keep on paying them. Understand that Outrage has proposed for some sort of money to be given them. I think 24 billion. So every financial year, we'll keep on giving them money. But why would a rational nation like Kenya keep on giving a private organization money? Let's make it a parastatal. We have a Kenya Airports, or rather Kenya Airways Act, and then we know this is a parastatal. We know their current expenditure, we know the capital expenditure, we know it's going to bleed. Right. But anything we do around that one, we'll be dancing around serious issues, and we'll blame ourselves.
I had a similar experience with you last weekend, flying from Mombasa to Nairobi. A lot of money being spent on delayed, mismanaged flights, yet we expect the national carrier to get back to profitability.
Yes. When they are signing those contracts with all those hotels, what is the finder's fee? You know, there would be somebody at KQ deliberately ensuring that passengers delay and cargos delay so that he gets his 10% or 18%.
Very good concern there. Jerry Teach, what's your take on this?
10 hotels that are 12 to 15 kilometers away from the airport, you even wonder about those. But I would like to say I've been suffering from a very severe case of whiplash when it comes to JKIA. 6 consecutive years of loss. The Treasury bails them out to the tune of 24 billion shillings. And now, on our dime, Kenya Airways wants to take over JKIA. We're actually, as Kenyans, purchasing this enterprise for a specific group of interests. And let me be even more forthright. If you ask ourselves, who owns the land around JKIA? Actually, Kenyans are gifting one particular family this property. And it is a classic ploy to run down a corporation with the board sanctioning it. Boards are very problematic, I must say. Board sanctioning the rundown while there's deeper games at play to ensure that at the end of the day, KQ is so unprofitable. Then they come over into JKIA. I loved the strike. I was so proud of Kenyans for rising up and saying absolutely no way. That even Michael Joseph is saying, well, you know, we're looking at different options. Maybe the government should fully own this and let it be delisted from the Nairobi Stock Exchange. At the end of the day, Kenyans once again are footing the bill for 1 or 2 or 3 families. Right. And we have to bring that to an end. Right. And let me tell you, by the way, all of us who've had horrible experiences, the only polite KQ team I ever met was in Kampala when I was stuck again and you can't come back and you're told I don't know this. It's crazy. And if you say I'd like seat number 24A for those of us who fly economy, they say, oh, that'll cost you $30 extra or $40 extra on top of the expensive ticket, far more expensive than the other airlines. You're being told to pay a premium if you want to sit at the window, in the front, over the wing. I don't know. So I wonder at what point KQ will stop bleeding Kenyans dry or customers dry. Yeah. I call it the shame of Africa. This is not the pride of Africa anymore. It's a shame of Africa.
Kipchumba, very quickly, very pertinent issues being raised there. And they want to sign a concession with KAA to run JKIA, the second busiest, 4th busiest, I think, airport in Africa. How will they be able to do that?
Ben, let us take this to a home perspective. You have 2 kids. One who has been repeating classes. 2, you have one who is very bright. How can you say now, as they go to school, the one who has been repeating classes should be carrying books for the bright student? How can that work? You want to kill that family, or what is your intention? Back to KQ. 1, we will get it right the moment we, first of all, get KQ away from other people's family businesses. When you see KQ being declared as a profit by a family, we have a problem. 2, worldwide, there is no air company that still purchases new planes. Most companies do leasing. Why are we so much interested with acquiring planes? For doing what? When worldwide people are leasing planes. Yes. 2, there is another problem that happened. When you do fuel aging, Fuel hedging is whereby you fix a price.
Okay.
You say if tomorrow even the fuel goes high, the price remains here. What did we do with our fuel hedging? We hedged our price by the market time. We hedged 18 shillings above. That in itself is a crime. You do not hedge above the market price. You hedge it at the market price so that in terms of economic turbulence, you are fixed there.
Yes.
Which means there is predictability in business.
Great.
But when we do the hedging, which is a negative hedging, why are we doing so?
And fuel is 40% of
Yes,
KQ costs.
and those are the things we need to ask ourselves.
Okay.
Secondly, the other thing, or thirdly, the other
Finally,
thing
please
that
wind up.
we must look at.
Yes.
KQ carries passengers.
Right.
They carry cargo. How do they make losses? I have never understood. I am not a good accountant like Dismas and other people, but I just know 1 + 1 is a 2. There can never be a 1 + 1 and it becomes -2.
Right.
I don't understand.
Very good question. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. Let's take another quick commercial break here on Inside Politics on KTN News. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, when we come back after this quick commercial break, we'll be taking your call. You have the final say on what we are discussing today. Call us. If you can, Skype us with your question or comment. The numbers will be scrolling at the bottom end of your screen. This is Inside Politics.